Video number 95 from MythoReligio series, Book 4. Ancient Sky Gazers, Travelers, or Aliens? Part 4, in North Africa and South America. Dear fellow truth seekers, in my last video I've shared information from various artifacts around the world that seem to prove that our so-called primitive ancestors had much higher astronomical knowledge than currently told by historians. In this video, I'm sharing further information about more artifacts from around the world that seem to prove that our ancestors might even have the ability to navigate the skies using flying machines and/or aliens had visited our planet in the distant past. In Egypt, North Africa. Ancient Egypt contains countless mysteries, and I've shared quite a number of those mysteries in this channel. Many of the enigmas present in Egypt do not seem to have a clear explanation. At least mainstream scholars are unable to clarify some of the curiosities that surround the ancient Egyptian civilization. One clear example is the construction of the pyramids or the Sphinx of Giza. And equally puzzling is the written language of the ancient Egyptians. In fact, Egyptian hieroglyphs only began to be deciphered after the discovery of the Rosetta Stone that is discovered in 1799. But they continue to be a constant source of astonishment for archaeologists. In order to find astonishing ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, we only have to travel to the temple of Seti I, where we can find strange carvings of what appear to be a helicopter, among other things, present on a slab inside the temple. The mysterious hieroglyphs can be observed in the hypostyle hall of the aforementioned temple in Abidos. Carved onto the slab, the strange hieroglyphs are said to clearly represent the figure of a helicopter, an airplane, a submarine, and a kind of flying saucer or zeppelin. But is it possible that the ancient Egyptians knew about such vehicles thousands of years ago? Maybe some of them visited ancient Egypt in a distant past. Mainstream scholars say no and point towards palimpsest, i.e. something reused or altered but still bearing visible traces of its earlier form. Experts explain the curious symbols in the following way. The original glyphs, which date back from the reign of Seti I, died at circa 1290 BCE, were erased and replaced by a new set of hieroglyphics carved during the reign of Ramses II, died at 1213 BCE, which turned out to be the strange-looking figures which, according to researchers, accidentally resemble modern-day machines. In time, the slab where the hieroglyphs were carved became eroded, resulting in the curious symbols we see today, which resemble helicopters, an airplane, submarine, and a kind of flying saucer, thanks to pareidolia, i.e. the tendency to perceive a specific, often meaningful image in a random or ambiguous visual pattern. With the resulting images of palimpsest, our mind sees objects that it can recognize, but incongruent with the time. Experts also add that the images displayed by media are often retouched to accurately display a similarity with modern vehicles. This theory or explanation has not been accepted by all archaeologists equally. And while Egyptologists may be right when it comes to palimpsests, not saying that they are or are not, it is curious that all the objects we see are in fact modern vehicles. Some believe that the curious hieroglyphs at the Temple of Abidos are one of the best pieces of evidence that ancient civilizations, in this case the ancient Egyptian civilization, witnessed extremely advanced technology thousands of years ago, which may have originated somewhere else. Is it really impossible that the ancient Egyptians could already witness or even fly themselves using airplanes, helicopters, and the like? Do you support the story offered by Egyptologists and archaeologists? Or do you think that these curious hieroglyphs tell a story which modern society is still not prepared to hear? Let me show you the glyphs one more time. Let's look closer. And let's compare them with modern submarine and/or flying vehicles. What objects are the artists trying to describe? They clearly look like a helicopter, a submarine, a glider, and a Zeppelin airship, don't they? As mentioned previously, archaeologists commonly explain them as the result of erosion and later adjustment to the original inscriptions. Is that so? Considering how many advanced technologies in Egypt that are unexplainable, it might be possible that the ancient Egyptians indeed were able to dive deep and fly, or at least have witnessed some of these high-tech vehicles. Which explanation makes more sense? What do you think? In Peru, South America, not far from the sea, in the Peruvian spurs of the Andes lies the ancient city of Nazca. The Palpa Valley contains a strip of level ground of some 37 miles or 59.5 kilometers long. 1 mile or 1.6 kilometers of which is scattered with bits of stone resembling pieces of rusty iron. The inhabitants call this region Pampas, meaning grass-covered plain or prairie, although any vegetation is out of question here. If you fly over this territory, the plain of Nazca, you can make out gigantic lines laid out geometrically, some of which run parallel to each other, while others intersect or are surrounded by large trapezoidal areas. Scholars date these lines to circa 200 BCE. Archaeologists say that they are Inca roads, but they also say that the Incas never used wheel in any practical manner. So, what are these roads for? And of what use to the Incas were roads that ran parallel to each other, that intersected? Those were laid out in a plain and came to a sudden end. The Nazca lines are spread over the arid plain and stretch for many kilometers with almost no deviation in the straight line sections. The lines can best be seen from the air, which led author Eric von Däniken to suggest they may have been designed as an airfield. Among all the different lines, there are also gigantic geometric images and zoomorphic figures such as monkey, hummingbird, spider, whale, dog, pelican, and even an astronaut figure. Many theories have been proposed to solve these Nazca lines. Here are some of them. Giant solar calendar. This was a theory proposed by Nazca's most famous researcher, the German-born Maria Reiche, who dedicated her life to studying and preserving the lines. She believed that the site held special astronomical significance, with the sun's positioning in relation to the designs acting as a giant solar calendar. This allowed the people of Nazca culture to observe solstices and equinoxes as well as predict things like solar eclipses. Reiche was a steadfast critic of the von Däniken theory and worked to debunk it by emphasizing the connection between the geoglyph designs and the other elements of Nazca culture, such as pottery. Attempts to verify her own theory have been inconclusive, but it nevertheless remains an influential view. Olympic Stadium. In 1980, Georg A. von Breunig proposed a theory that the Nazca lines may have been used as special racetracks where athletes competed in Olympic-like competitions to honor the gods. This theory was also supported by the Professor Hoymar van Ditworth. Water-cult ritual sites. One of the most compelling theories about the origin and purpose of the Nazca lines was first proposed by a group of American researchers, including Johann Reinhardt. This theory holds that, due to the incredible aridity of the Nazca Desert, the area receives only about 20 minutes of rain for the entire year. The most likely explanation for the designs is that they were incorporated in ancient rituals imploring the gods for rain. Researchers point out that animal symbolism is common at ritual sites throughout the Andes, so they theorize that the use of these designs in religious ceremonies is the most logical explanation for their construction. sacred pathways. Similarly, the researcher Michael Coe has suggested that the lines represented a sort of sacred walkway which that Nazca people would walk as part of ritual ceremonies. The primary lines were considered an offering to the mountain gods for providing water to grow crops. Worship of mountain gods is a common feature of many Andean religions. Ancient astronauts. Without a doubt, the most infamous theory about the Nazca line's origin was that proposed by Erich von Däniken in his 1968 book Chariots of the Gods. This theory held that ancient Nazca was the landing site for an extraterrestrial spacecraft. The alien beings supposedly imparted the local people with special knowledge and technology before returning to their home planet. After the departure of these ancient astronauts, the Nazca culture built a series of giant images and designs as messages to the extraterrestrial beings whom they viewed as gods. Of course, this ancient astronauts theory is rejected by conventional historians and archaeologists. If this was the only evidence for the ancient astronaut or aliens theory, I would also dismiss it right away. But as you have seen in this channel alone, there are many other evidence that seem to prove it, and there are still many more. What do you think? Dear fellow truth seekers, in this video I'm not going to share my personal theory yet. However, based on everything I have shared in this channel alone, I can confidently state that the chronology of humanity's prehistory is incorrect. Also, as time goes by, older and older findings keep on coming up to the surface. Therefore, it is safe to say that I think our prehistory is much, much older than what is told by conventional historians. I will share my personal theory when it is time to do so, after sharing all the information needed to draw a conclusion. At the meantime, allow me to thank you for watching and hope to see you in my next video.